Hey, how's it going everyone? My name is True Underdog, here with a guide on how to play Urien. This tutorial will cover his special moves, normal attacks, V-system, and critical art. So without further ado, let's break him down step by step. First off, we have the normal attacks. I'm going to start off with the punches, and then the kicks. Standing light punch has decent range, and does pretty solid damage. It can also cancel into certain special moves too, so it's pretty good for extending combos. The crouching version also has decent range, but neither attack is 3 frames, so Urien is a bit slower than some characters on the roster. Plus you can't spam it like other characters either, it's just not that fast. However, what it lacks in speed it makes up for with range, so it's a pretty fair trade-off. Standing medium punch has great range, and cancels pretty well into special moves. The crouching version also has great range, and scoots Urien forward a little bit as well, which I find very useful for extending combos. Standing heavy punch has good range, and can cause a crush counter, which allows you to dash in for a full combo. The attack can also be held down, which increases damage, hit stun, and range. It also becomes plus on block, instead of just being safe on block. With that said, it's pretty easy for the opponent to interrupt, so use it wisely. Crouching heavy punch is great for extending combos, but is unsafe on block, which is rare for Urien. That's it for the punches, so let's discuss the kicks now. Standing light kick has decent range and is fairly fast. Crouching light kick hits low and is fast as well. However, the range can be a bit deceptive. You gotta be pretty close to actually connect with it. Standing medium kick has fantastic range and is by far one of your best tools in the neutral. The same can also be said for crouching medium kick. While its range is a bit deceptive, it's still pretty darn good for a crouching attack. Very fast as well. Medium kick is honestly just good all around. Standing heavy kick does good damage, and just like the heavy punch, can be charged down for more damage, and it hits twice. It's also a good anti-air if the opponent's right in front of you. Crouching heavy kick has great range, and causes a knockdown on hit. However, it's very unsafe if blocked up close, so be careful how you use it. On counter hit, it causes a crush counter, and a hard knockdown. Now let's move on to his jumping attacks. Jumping medium kick has fantastic range, which makes it very good in the neutral. Jumping heavy kick does great damage and has solid range, but its startup is a bit slow. Jumping heavy punch is faster and does similar damage, so it's my preferred jump in most of the time. Jumping medium punch is a great air-to-air that leads into a full combo if you time it properly. Keep in mind that Urien has no cross-up attack. This makes him very difficult to use if you're not careful. Much like Balrog, if you do choose to jump, make sure you're smart about it. Next up we have his unique attacks. Forward medium punch has great range and is safe on block. It's also a fairly solid anti-air. Back plus heavy kick has great range and is -4 on block, so if you space it correctly, the opponent can't really punish you for it. It also causes a crush counter on counter hit, which is very useful. Forward plus heavy punch hits overhead and has pretty solid range as well. It's also only -4 on block, so your opponent needs frame perfect timing in order to punish you for it. Light punch medium punch is a decent target combo, however you won't see very many players use it, because of how minus on block it is. Urien's normals are so good that you don't really need this attack at all. Forward plus medium punch forward heavy punch is a sneaky overhead, but is much more unsafe if blocked, so be careful how you use it. With that said, it's great for comboing into V-trigger. That's it for the unique attacks, so let's move on to his special moves. Chariot Tackle. This attack has fast startup and is great for ending most combos. However, every version is unsafe on block, with the exception of the EX version, so be careful how you space it. The light version is the fastest, but has the least range and does the least damage. The medium version has better range and does more damage, but has slower startup. The heavy version has better range and does better damage, but is the slowest and the most unsafe on block, so it's best used to end your long combos. In fact, you should always end your long combos with the heavy version to ensure the attack connects. The EX version is -2 on block, has great range, and fast startup, so it's a great way to end your combos as long as you're willing to spin the meter. Violence Knee Drop. This attack is great for countering fireballs, and is safe as long as you space it correctly. The light version hits up close. The medium version hits around jumping distance, whereas the heavy version is nearly full screen. Keep in mind that if spaced correctly, every violent knee drop has the potential to be plus on block, as long as you hit the opponent lower down on their body. The EX version is always safe on block, and you can actually control where it goes. By default, it hits around here. However, if I hold back during the animation, I can have it hit much closer. Whereas if I hold forward, it hits nearly full screen. Not to mention, the EX version does more damage than any other strength, so it's a very, very good tool as long as you're willing to spin the meter. Next we have Dangerous Headbutt. Every version of this attack is safe on block, except for the EX version. With that in mind, they do whiff on crouching opponents, so make sure to keep that in mind. The light version is fast, but does the least damage and has the worst range. The medium version does more damage and has better range, but is slightly slower. The heavy version has the best range and does the most damage, but is slightly slower than all the rest. Keep in mind that every version is airborne for a few frames, so if your opponent hits you out of it, they don't get a full combo. The EX version is unsafe on block, but it's invincible for 16 frames on startup and can juggle the opponent for more damage, so it's a pretty fair trade-off in my opinion. Not to mention, the EX version actually hits crouching opponents. Last but not least, we have Metallic Sphere. Every version of the attack is -9 by default. However, if held down, it actually becomes plus on block. The trade-off is the opponent's likely to hit you in between. With that in mind, let's explain the best properties of each attack. The light version travels horizontally at a pretty slow rate. The medium version is much faster. The heavy version fires upward at an angle, which is great for stopping jump-ins and extending combos. Keep in mind that each version can be held down to increase damage and make it plus on block. Unlike most characters in the game, Urien actually has 3 EX fireballs. Light Punch plus Medium Punch is a slower EX projectile. Light Punch plus Heavy Punch is a fast EX projectile. Medium Punch plus Heavy Punch is a fast upward projectile. Keep in mind that every EX version is safe on block and can be held down just like other versions. That's it for all the special attacks, so let's move on to his V system. Urien's V skill adds 1 hit of armor to all of his charged special moves, and unlike other characters, it doesn't go away when you're hit. In fact, it only goes away if you actually use the special move, or if you're hit during the V skill activation. It's also important to keep in mind that Urien builds V gauge each time his armor absorbs an attack, so it's a very, very useful V skill, which I honestly forget he has most of the time, so don't be like me. Use this V skill often. Urien's V trigger is his Aegis Reflector, which is great for reflecting projectiles and extending combos. By default, the V trigger is about jumping distance away. If you hold back and V trigger, the reflector is much closer to Urien. If you hold down during V trigger, then it appears slightly above him, which is great for locking your opponent down in the corner, since they can't jump away. Keep in mind that each V trigger gives you 2 reflectors, so make sure to use them wisely. It's also important to note that they scale very heavily during combos, so you should never ever use both during the same combo. In fact, using just one during a combo will scale the damage tremendously, so just keep that in mind. While Urien's V-trigger combos are quite flashy, I find the move is much better for defense than offense. That's just my opinion, but I feel pretty strongly about it. Urien's V-reversal has good range and causes a knockdown, making it very useful for defense. Last but certainly not least, we have Urien's critical art. This attack does great damage and is invincible for a lot of frames, 26 to be exact. However, with that in mind, it has terrible horizontal range, so keep that in mind. Urien doesn't hit much further in front of his own fist. While it's a great anti-air and a good way to end short combos, it does not have good range horizontally. Alrighty dogs, that concludes this beginner's guide. Please leave a like down below if you learned something. And while you're down there, go ahead and post a comment too. Tell me what you think. And if you haven't already, please subscribe for more videos, because we have content on this channel every single week. It's never a dull moment on Underdog Gaming, so make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.